Okay, so we have got two expressions we've got to factorise. Now, there's a number of ways of going at factorising. I'm going to go at these two old school, and then in other videos I'll show you a couple of hacks as well. I prefer to do it kind of this way, but let's say everybody's slightly different when it comes to factorising. So let's have a look at the first one. We've got 5x squared plus 33x minus 14. And the first thing I'm going to look at is there a common factor I can take out? Well, the obvious thing to take out, well, then would be a factor of 5. But it's not coming out of the 33 or the minus 14, so I know I can't make it any simpler, so I'm going to have to deal with what's in front of me. So what I tend to do is start off with, let's go with a 5x there, and the x there, and let's see what we can do. So we've got to have things that multiply to make 14, so that's going to be either 1 and 14, or it's going to be 2 and 7, and let's just plug them in and see what happens. Well, if I start off by going 1 and 14 there, I know from there, 14 times 5, what's that, kind of 60, that's 70. That's going to end up far too big. So straight away, I kind of know the 14 is not going to get in there. So let's just get rid of those. And what I do is just I'm basically just trying stuff and seeing what works out. Likewise, if I put the 14 there and the 1 there, I look at the middle bits. I'm going to get 14x from there. I'm going to get 5x from there. That leaves me with 19x. That's not going to work either. So we can get rid of those. The 14 and the 1 just isn't going to work. So let's just cross those out. And let's try the 2 and the 7. So we're going for 35. Straight away I'm looking 5 and I'm thinking 7. That gives me 35. That's getting near to it. Okay, now I can see what's happening. There's the 2, because now what I've got is 2x coming from that part of my foil. We've got 35x coming from that bit there. We need to make 33x. So the way to do that from those two things there is I've got to have 1 plus 1 minus. So it's going to be 35. It's going to be a minus of 2x, which means that one there has got to be the minus. That's got to be the plus. And so if I just kind of just tidy it up a little bit, get rid of all those other bits. There we go. You can see we've got, that's it, factorised, jobs are good. Right, let's now have a look at part B. So we've got to do 6x squared minus x minus 12. So let's go at it and say, okay, well, let's put a 6x there, x there, and now I've got choices of, was it 1 and 12, it could be 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Now, when it comes to this one, there's some options you can rule out straight away. Let's start off by looking at 1 and 12. Let's consider that I was going to put the 12 there and the 1 there. Now, if we have a look at this bracket here, we can see we've got a common factor of 6, so I'll be able to write that with the 6 outside and an x, and that would be a 2. I'm not worrying about the sound for now. And so that would mean that if I can take a 6 out the front, I'd have an expression that would look something like that, which would mean the whole thing would be multiplying by 6, in which case the whole thing would have a factor of 6, and it absolutely doesn't. So that means that that's just not going to work. So straight away, we know that the 12 is not going to go in that bracket there. So what we've got to do, let's just get rid of all of that for now. Let's get rid of the 12 and that, and let's think again. So it might be that the 12 and 1 will still work, but the 12 is going to go in that bracket. But, you know, kind of straight away I can see, you know what, that's going to make 72x. I've got to make the kind of just 1x in the middle there. That's going to be far too big. So I'm looking at thinking, okay, that big number in that bracket when multiplied by the 6 just isn't going to work. So that's not going to happen either. So we can get rid of those. 12 and the 1, not an option. Let's now have a consider about the 2 and the 6. Well, we've got exactly the same problem. If I put the 2 in there and the 6 in there, I've still got a common factor going on there. So that's no good. Let's consider it the other way around. Same problem in that bracket. So the 2 and the 6 just aren't going to work either. So that's no good. And so that just leaves me with the 3 and the 4. And considering what we've said before, there's no way the 4 can go in the first bracket. So I'm going to stick that into the second bracket there. I'm going to stick the 3 into there. Oh, you know what? That's not working either. So, you know, it's just not happening with a 6 and an x to begin with. So it must be the case that we can make that 6x squared a different way. So I'm just going to bin all of that off. Let's get rid of all those bits there. And let's try again. And let's see what we've got this time. The only way we can do it now, we've got 3x. And let's put a 2x there. That's going to make my 6. I should have left those in. Let's put them back in. Okay, and straight away we can see if I put a 12 there, I've got a common factor. If I put it in there, I've got a common factor. That's not going to happen. So straight away, you don't need to try all the possibilities. You can just look and go, well, you know what? That one's not going to work. We've got exactly the same problem with the 2 and the 6. That's not going to work. So now let's have a look at the 3 and the 4. The only way that can work is if I put the 4 there and the 3 there. It's not going to work the other way around. Let's now have a little look at what's happening here. Okay, so we've got 8x there. From there we've got 9x. This is looking promising. 9x, 8x, that's making the 1x that I need. It needs to be a minus, so I've got to make that a minus there. Makes that a minus, that one the plus. And after all that, let's just get rid of those bits, do a bit of tidying up. What we've got there is our factorised expression. So it's going to be 3x plus 4, 2x minus 3. Now, like I say, there is a bit of a shortcut to that, and we'll look at that in another video. But there we go, that's how I still do it, old school styly.